Hi Loopers, Melissa here with LovableLoops.com. In this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to crochet my witch dress in a size 6-12 months. I'm actually going to make a fairy dress version simply because these darker color yarns are really hard to see on camera. I've had some requests. I currently have this available on my website in 0-3 months and 3-6 months, and I've had some requests to size it out for larger sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the size 6-12. So again, I'll be using different colors and it will look more like a rainbow fairy dress, but it is going to be the same pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for now. You're going to need an I 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. I am using 4 different colors of number 4 worsted weight yarn, and I'll link to those below. You're going to want some locking stitch markers, scissors, and some tapestry needles. Okay, to get started, and again this is size 6-12, I will link below to the pattern on my website where you can get other sizes. It'll go up to 18-24 months. Okay, so to begin, go ahead and create a slip knot. You are going to chain 72. Okay, once you have a chain of 72, go ahead and straighten your chain out. Make sure it's not twisted. And you're going to join in the round. So you'll join to the first chain with a slip stitch. Okay, so you'll just pull that yarn through and then pull it through again through that chain on your hook. So now for round 1, we're going to chain 2. Now the beginning of each round will always begin with the chain 2. That will never count as your first stitch, okay? So your chain 2 is never your first stitch. And I should mention we are working from the top down. So right now we are creating the collar area, and then we will begin creating the arm sleeves or the armholes. Go ahead and double crochet in 9, and again you're going to make your first double crochet in that chain that you made your slip stitch in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you double crochet in 9, and I think it's much easier to count as you go, or to double check your stitches as you go rather than waiting till the end of the round just in case you make a mistake. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Now in the next chain we're going to make a V-stitch, and a V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that same chain. So I have my double crochet, chain 1, and I'm going to make another double crochet right into that same chain. And I'm going to use one of my locking stitch markers to mark that V-stitch for myself. Now you are going to double crochet in 16. go ahead and count and see how many I've double crochet. Now remember, this is your V-stitch here, so this double crochet is part of the V-stitch, so you don't count that one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16. Okay, and now you're going to make another V-stitch. So you're going to double crochet, chain 1, and make another double crochet all in that same space. And again, grab one of your locking stitch markers, mark that V-stitch, and now you're going to double crochet in 18. Now this will get faster. The chains are a little bit harder to work into, but once you're working after this round, it'll be much easier, much quicker. 1, okay, so you're going to double crochet now in 18. Okay, I'm going to count, see how many I've already made. Now again, that stitch right here is part of the V-stitch, so don't count that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And 18. All right, now I'm going to make another V-stitch. So in that next chain, make a double crochet, chain 1, make another double crochet. And again, I'm going to use a stitch marker to mark that stitch for myself. And now you're going to double crochet in 16. Okay, I promise the next rounds are much easier. Okay, so I'm going to count to see how many I have here. Again, this is my part of my V-stitch, so that does not count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Perfect. I'm going to make a V-stitch in my next stitch here. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then in your last 9 stitches you're going to double crochet, or in your last 9 chains. Alright, so you have finished round 1. I'm going to make sure I don't have this twisted up. Okay. And you're going to go ahead and join to the top of that first double crochet. So when you join, you just make a slip stitch, okay? And now for the next rounds, I'm going to switch to my minty color. I just wanted yellow for the top part here. So I'm going to go ahead and switch. So I'm going to join. You can really make your dress any colors that you want. This is just the color pattern I'm choosing to use. I'm going to join my yarn, and I'm going to make my chain 2. Okay, for round 2, you are going to double crochet in 10. So you chain 2 and double crochet in 10. And remember, your first double crochet goes in that same stitch that you joined to. Okay, and I'll be tightening these up here. Okay, so 1, double check that that's 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, now in that V-stitch, you're going to make a V-stitch, okay? So you're going to double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Just like that. You made a V-stitch in your V-stitch. Now you're going to go ahead and, something over here is shaking, sorry. Attach your stitch marker to that V-stitch. And now you are going to double crochet in 18. Now it's very important. The V-stitch, that second V-stitch from the previous round, will be your first double crochet after your new V-stitch. So if you are off count, it's very likely you skipped over this and double crocheted into this stitch. You need to be very careful. Double crochet into this stitch first. Okay? That is your first double crochet. Just like that. Okay, so here you have your V-stitch. That is double crochet number 1. So go ahead and double crochet into 17. Okay, so let's see here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, and now you have that V-stitch from the previous round. You're going to go ahead and make a V-stitch into that space. You're basically making it around the chain 1 from that last V-stitch because you end up double crocheting in those double crochets, which is why each round is increased by 8 stitches. So you're going to make your V-stitch into that space, double crochet 1, chain 1, and make another double crochet. Put your stitch marker around that V-stitch, and now you are going to double crochet in 20. And remember, that is your first stitch that you double crochet in. Okay, check to make sure that that is 20. Okay, so we don't count the V-stitch double crochets. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. All right, go ahead and remove that stitch marker and make a V-stitch into that V-stitch space. So double crochet 1, chain 1, and make another double crochet, and then you reattach your stitch marker. And now you're going to double crochet in 20. Okay, and again, that right there, so you might have to pull this over so that you can get into that stitch. Make sure you don't skip that. 1, I had forgotten to put, unless it fell off, stitch marker on that V-stitch. So right here, for this stretch, I should have 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. No, that's correct. So this, sorry, 10, 18, 20, 18. So this is correct. This should be 18, and then for this last stretch here, it'll be another 10. Okay, so go ahead now and make a V-stitch into that V-stitch space, and I'm going to reattach my stitch marker. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and now in these last 10 stitches, I will double crochet. Okay, and you can see I actually almost skipped that first one there. It's very easy to do. So 1, okay, that's my first one. Double crochet in those last 10 stitches. All right, and then you have completed round 2. And at the end of round 2, you will have 84 stitches. Okay, so you increase. I don't know if I mentioned at the end of round 1, you should have had 76. We increased our second round by 8 stitches. So now you'll have 84. Go ahead and join to the top of that first double crochet that you made. Okay, and I'm going to tighten these up here since I joined that new color. I'm going to continue with this minty color for a while. For round 3 now, you're going to begin again by chaining 2, double crochet in 11. And remember, your first double crochet always goes into that same stitch that you joined to. So that's your first one. Okay, and then one more. That should be 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Very good. Now make a V-stitch into that previous V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, reattach that stitch marker. Now you're going to double crochet in 20. Remember, your first double crochet goes in that stitch, that double crochet from the previous round's V-stitch. It's harder to see now because the color's the same. Be very careful not to skip that. Okay, so now you're double crocheting in 20 stitches. Okay, that should be 20. Okay, you don't count this first one, that's part of your V-stitch. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Perfect. Make a V-stitch in that previous V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now you are going to double crochet in 22. Okay, count to make sure that that is 22. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. Okay, make a V-stitch in that previous V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now you are going to double crochet in 20. Okay, reattach that stitch marker. Okay, check to make sure that that is 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Perfect. Make your V-stitch in that previous V-stitch. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, reattach your stitch marker, and now you're going to double crochet in the last 11 stitches. Okay. All right, so I'm going to double check to make sure that that was 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Perfect. You're going to join with the slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet. At the end of round 3, you will have 92 stitches. Okay, now round 4 is fun because this is when we are going to actually create our armholes. Okay, it's very simple to do. We're just going to start with another chain 2, double crochet in 12. And remember, your first double crochet always goes into that same stitch that you joined to. Okay, let's make sure that was 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay. All right, here's what you're going to want to do. Remove the stitch marker from this next V-stitch and the V-stitch after that, okay? And set those aside. You don't need them anymore. Okay. What we're going to basically end up doing is combining those two V-stitch areas to make your sleeve, okay, your armhole. All right, so you're going to make a double crochet, just one, into that V-stitch, okay, chain 1, and then you're going to double crochet into the next V-stitch, okay. Make sure you put it in through the middle of the V-stitch, not through one of the double crochets, and double crochet around it. Your first sleeve or armhole is made. So now go ahead and double crochet into 24 stitches, and again, remember, don't skip that first double crochet there. Okay, double crochet in 24. Okay, go ahead and count and make sure that that's 24. So this is the double crochet you made to join to the V-stitch, so skip that first one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. Perfect. Okay, now you're going to do the same thing again. We're going to make our second sleeve. Remove the 2 stitch markers from those V stitches. You're going to make 1 double crochet into that V stitch space, chain 1, and then make a double crochet into the next V stitch space. Okay, and you will have 12 double crochet remaining. Go ahead and double crochet into those last 12 stitches. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and count those. Remember, this was the double crochet that I used to attach to that V-stitch. So count after that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right, join with the slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet. Okay, at the end of round 4, you'll have 52 stitches, okay? You're no longer double crocheting in these for the dress. We will make sleeves later, but for now we're done with the sleeve area, okay? All right, so now for rounds, let's see here, 5 through 14, we'll just be creating the remainder of the top of the dress. I am going to continue using this blue color, and then when we get to the bottom part of the dress, I'm going to alternate between these 4 colors. So I'll have pink, purple, this minty blue color, and yellow. But for the top portion, I'm going to keep it the same. Okay. All right, so now we are on round 5. For round 5, go ahead and chain 2, double crochet in 13. And remember, once again, your first double crochet goes in that same stitch that you joined to. Okay, so that's my double crochet. Then you have a chain 1 right there, and then that's your next double crochet. So I should have 13 here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Okay, now we are going to make 2 double crochet under this arm sleeve area, so they're basically going to be around that chain 1. After that, your next double crochet will go into that double crochet. So be careful you don't cover that up while you're making your 2 double crochet. They should go around that chain 1. So 1, 2, and then if you just pull that over a little bit, you can see your next double crochet there so that you can work into that. So now you'll make 26 double crochet, starting with that one. Okay. All right, 26 double crochet. All right, that should be 26. So those are the 2 double crochet here that I made under the sleeve, so don't count those. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, okay? Now you're going to want to, once again, make 2 double crochet around that chain 1. And then you're going to want to double crochet in 13 stitches and make sure your first one, you might have to pull this over, it might be hard to get to, but don't skip this first stitch here. Okay, that should be 13. Okay, so those are my 2 double crochet around that chain 1. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Go ahead and join with the slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet. And at the end of round 5, you will have 56 stitches. Okay, so now for round 6, you're going to chain 2 and double crochet in 14. Okay, I'm going to see how many that is. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, and then you're going to make 2 double crochet in your next stitch. Okay, so 1 and 2, And now you're going to double crochet in 27. Okay, count to make sure that that's 27. So that's where you had your increase. So you don't count those. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 27. Okay, go ahead and double crochet. Make 2 double crochet in your next stitch. And I'll be referring to that as an increase. Okay, 2 double crochet. And then in the last 13 stitches, just double crochet once. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. All right, and then join with a slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet. At the end of round 6, you'll have 58 stitches. Now for round 7, chain 2, double crochet in 14. Okay, count your stitches and make sure that you have 14. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Now you're going to make 2 double crochet in that next stitch. So you're making another increase. And now you are going to double crochet in 28 stitches. Okay, count to make sure that you have 28. So this was my increase here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. Perfect. So then double crochet 2 in that next stitch. And then you're going to double crochet in 14. Okay, at the end of round 7, you'll have 60 stitches. Go ahead and join with a slip stitch to that first double crochet. And chain 2, and then for round 8, you're going to begin by double crocheting in 15. Okay, double count. Double check 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Okay, we need 15, so I need to make one more. And then in my next stitch, I'm going to make 2 double crochet. And now you're going to double crochet in 29. Okay, so go ahead and count, make sure you have 29. So skip over that increase there. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 29. Make 2 double crochet in your next stitch. And then you are going to double crochet in 14. Okay, at the end of round 8, you will have 62 stitches. Join with a slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet. For round 9, you're going to chain 2 and double crochet in 15. Okay, count your stitches. You should have 15. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I need to make one more. And in my next stitch, I will make 2 double crochet. And then you will double crochet in 30 stitches. Okay, count your stitches to make sure that you have 30. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. Make 2 double crochet in your next stitch. And then you should have 15 stitches left to work into. I'm actually going to check that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Perfect. Go ahead and double crochet in those last 15 stitches. Okay, go ahead and join with a slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet. At the end of round 9, you'll have 64 stitches. For round 10, chain 2, double crochet in 16. Okay, check to make sure that you have 16. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Very good. Make 2 double crochet in your next stitch. Then you're going to double crochet in 31. Okay, count to make sure that you have 31. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 31. Go ahead and make 2 double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and then make sure that you have 15 stitches left. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Perfect. Go ahead and double crochet in those last 15 stitches. Okay, at the end of round 10, you'll have 66 stitches. Join with a slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet. For round 11, you're going to chain 2 and double crochet in 16. Okay, count your stitches and make sure you have 16. 2, 4, 6, 8, let me start over. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Okay, I need one more. And in my next stitch, place 2 double crochet. All right, now I'm going to double crochet in 32. Okay, count your stitches, make sure you have 32. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. I accidentally made 33, that's okay. I'll just add another stitch to that to make that 2 for my increase. And I'm going to count to make sure that I have 16 stitches left. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Go ahead and double crochet into your last 16 stitches. Okay, at the end of round 11, you will have 68 stitches. Go ahead and join with the slip stitch to the top of that first double crochet. And now for rounds 12 through 14, you are simply going to chain 2 at the beginning of each round and double crochet once in each stitch. So at the end of round 12, 13, and 14, you will have 68 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. There's no reason to watch me. Just place 1 stitch in each stitch for the round. We're not increasing anymore. So go ahead and do that for rounds 12, 13, and 14. Chain 2 at the beginning of each round and just double crochet once all the way around, and I'll meet you back up afterwards. Okay, so you should have completed through round 14. You will have 68 stitches. Now we are going to join our yellow yarn. And again, you can make this any color you want, but I'm just going to tell you how I'm making my color changes. You're going to join your yellow yarn, chain 2, and then you are going to make 2 double crochet in each stitch. Okay, you can tighten those yarn ends up. 1, Okay, now we are going to begin the bottom portion of the dress. As you can see here, I cut my yellow yarn because I found the easiest way to do this is just to reattach it. But before I get started, I'd like to just explain to you what we're going to be doing. So think of this this oval here as looking down onto the dress from this point of view, okay? The idea is what we are going to be making 4 points. And let me see if I can grab my witch dress. Okay, I apologize, I should have had that. So you can see here in the witch dress, there's a point here in the front. It comes down to a point, one on the side, one on each side, and one in the back. If you look at it from this point of view, you can see how what started as an oval around the waist, it came out to a point in each of those 4 points, okay? So the idea is we're going to put stitch markers on these 4 ovals here. You can see where I've written stitch marker. When you are crocheting for the remainder of the dress, with the exception of the last round, every time you get to a stitch marker, you are going to increase before and after. That means the stitch before the stitch marker and the stitch after the stitch marker will each get 2 double crochets. So you're going to increase before and after, and you'll be doing that for each of these. Now the stitch with the stitch marker, you'll remove the stitch marker, make 1 double crochet in the stitch marker, and then put the stitch marker back. That way it stays in the same spot, and as you continue crocheting in the round, that stitch marker will end up moving out. Each of them will, and those will end up creating your points. Okay? So after round 15, and again, this is for size 612, so I have posted down below the link to my blog with the pattern if you are making a different size. But for size 612, after round 15, which is the round we just completed, you'll have 136 stitches. So if we subtract 1, 2, 3, 4, those 4 stitches where we're going to place stitch markers, and divide the remainder of the stitches by 4, that is 33. So each section between the stitch markers will have 33 stitches. Actually, you need to find the middle of the back first and then count out 33. Sorry. Okay, so here we have our stitch marker. Now we're going to count 33 stitches, and then we'll place the next stitch marker. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 33, and then on that next stitch, you'll place a stitch marker, and then again, count 33. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 33, place a stitch marker on that next stitch. And that should be in the middle in the front, which it is. Count 33 more stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 33. Place a stitch marker on that next stitch. And hopefully I didn't mess anything up there. We have 33 stitches left. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 33. Perfect. Okay. So to begin here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my yellow yarn to the stitch before that stitch marker in the back. And now you can see why I chose to cut this end, because it's easier just to say put your first stitch marker in the middle and count out. That way for the other size patterns, I'll be able to make this dress for larger sizes without actually having to make the dress to see where that last stitch falls. So I hope that makes sense, but it's just easier that way. So for the bottom portion of the dress, I am choosing to alternate colors every 2 rows. So I'm going to reattach my yellow yarn here. I'm going to chain 2, and remember that chain 2 never counts as your first stitch. And I'm going to make 2 double crochet in this stitch because it is the stitch before the stitch marker. So here we have 1, 2. You can remove your stitch marker, place 1 stitch, 1 double crochet, replace your stitch marker, and again in that stitch after the stitch marker, make another 2 double crochet. 1, 2, and then just continue double crocheting until you get to the next stitch directly before the stitch with the stitch marker. So I think the dress looks fairly complicated, but this is actually very simple. This is also how you can create the point when you're making a hood. Just making 4 of them for this dress, which I think gives it a really unique look. Sorry about the birds outside. Okay, we have reached the next stitch marker. So I have this 1 stitch left before the stitch with the stitch marker. I'm going to make 2 double crochet into that stitch. 1, 2. I'm going to remove the stitch marker. Put 1 double crochet in that stitch. Replace the stitch marker, and then make 2 double crochet in the stitch after. And you're going to just continue that. You'll do that for these next 2 stitches. So you just double crochet once in each stitch, with the exception of the stitch before and the stitch directly after the stitch with the stitch marker. Okay, those will each get 2 stitches, which means that you'll end up increasing each round by 8. So you have 2 here, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, because you have 8 stitches where you'll make 2 double crochets. So go ahead and complete this round. You have 2 more stitch markers here, and when you get to the end, you're just going to join to the top of that first double crochet with a slip stitch, just like you normally do, and then we'll begin the next round. Okay, so at the end of round 16, you should have 144 stitches. I would not be too concerned with counting them after each round, so long as you remember to increase before and after each stitch marker. So like I said, I'm going to be changing colors every 2 rows for this dress because I want it to look like a rainbow fairy dress. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my yellow, or my pink yarn. Okay, now as you can see, when I joined that first double crochet, it's very close to the stitch marker. So I'm going to just double crochet once in the same stitch that I joined to, and then my next stitch is my stitch where I need to make my increase, okay? So I'm going to join my pink yarn, chain 2, I'm going to tighten up those stitches there. Tighten up these yarn ends. Okay, so I'm going to make my first double crochet, and again, that's in the same stitch that I joined to. Your chain 2 does not count as your first stitch. Okay, and now this next stitch is the stitch that comes before my stitch marker, so you're going to increase, which means you're going to make 2 double crochet in that stitch. 1, 2. Okay, remove the stitch marker, place 1 double crochet in that stitch, replace the stitch marker, and then make 2 double crochet in the next stitch. 1 and 2. And gradually you'll start to see that middle stitch, because these stitches that have the increases will start to push that stitch out, you'll end up getting your 4 points. So you're going to go ahead and double crochet for the remainder of the round, and then again in each stitch before and after the stitch with the stitch marker, you're going to place 2 double crochet. Okay, after round 17 you'll have 152 stitches. Now what you're going to do is, so again, this is size 612 for rounds, for the next up to round 35, you're just going to be doing the same thing. So I don't think I really need to take the time to show you on video, simply because it'll make the video longer to upload, and I might have to make it into 2 videos. All you're doing until you reach round 35 for size 612 is before and after each stitch with the stitch marker, you make 2 double crochet, and that's it. If you want to change your colors like I am, you're just going to alternate colors every 2 rows. I did 2 of the yellow. I'm going to do 2 pink, 2 purple, and then 2 mint, and then I'll go back and repeat yellow, pink, purple, mint, and I'll just continue that until I get to row 35. So go ahead and do that, and then I will meet you back up here after row 35 to show you how to do like the pointed trim that I have around the bottom of my witch dress. Okay, so you've just completed round 35, so your dress should look a lot like mine, with the exception of maybe the colors that you used. So you can see here where we have each of the stitch markers, it came down to a point. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do the last row, which is going to be this pointy trim here, okay? My last round ended up being purple, so I'm going to go ahead and make my trim around the bottom in purple as well. And you can actually go ahead and remove those stitch markers. I just wanted to show you where they were, but you don't need those anymore. Okay, and you can just start right where you finished off. Okay, and here is the pattern. So we are going to chain 1, and then we are going to, in that same stitch, you're going to single crochet, double crochet, and again you're doing this in the same stitch, and then you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And in the third chain from the hook, so 1, 2, 3, you're going to slip stitch. So you're just going to pull your yarn all the way through. And then in this next stitch here, you're going to double crochet and then single crochet. Okay? It creates that point. And now in the next 2 stitches, you're just going to slip stitch. 1, 2, okay, and now we're going to repeat our original pattern. So again, in this next stitch here, I'm going to single crochet, double crochet, chain 3, and then I will slip stitch in the third chain from the hook. So single crochet, double crochet, okay, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, in that third chain from the hook, slip stitch, so you just pull that yarn right through, and then in the next stitch you're going to double crochet, and then you'll single crochet, okay, and then in the next 2 stitches you're simply going to slip stitch. And then repeat that pattern again. In that next stitch, you single crochet, double crochet, chain 3, slip stitch in that third chain from your hook, and then in the next stitch, double crochet, and then you will single crochet. And then in the next 2 stitches, you simply slip stitch. So 1 slip stitch and 2. Okay? We'll repeat the pattern. Single crochet, double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch in that third chain from your hook, and then in the next stitch, double crochet and single crochet. I'm going to go back and tighten this up here. Okay, so double crochet, and single crochet. And then in the next 2 stitches, you just slip stitch. And repeat. Single crochet, double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch into that 3rd chain from the hook. I'm gonna fix that, sorry. So single crochet, okay, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch in the 3rd chain from the hook, and then double crochet in your next stitch and single crochet, and then you're going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. Okay, so in the next stitch, single crochet, double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch in that 3rd chain from your hook, and then in the next stitch you're going to double crochet and then single crochet, and then in the next 2 stitches you're simply going to slip stitch. Okay, I'm going to show you this one more time, and then you'll just repeat this for the remainder of the round. And this is the trim, so this is the last round of your dress, okay? So I'm going to slip stitch in those next 2 stitches, and then I'll show you the last. I'll show you one more time. Okay, so single crochet, double crochet in that same stitch, and from there chain 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch in the 3rd chain from your hook, and in your next stitch you're going to double crochet and then single crochet, and then you slip stitch in the next 2 stitches and repeat, and just repeat that for the remainder of this round, the remainder of the trim for the bottom of the dress, okay? And then I will meet back up with you to show you how to do the same trim for around the armholes, okay? Okay, so now we have completed the trim around the bottom of the dress. Now we are going to do the same thing for the sleeves. Now, since I had started originally with yellow around the collar, I'm going to do yellow around the sleeves for this fairy dress. You want to attach your yarn in the back because you don't want to see that join. And you're going to do the same pattern. Go ahead and chain 1, and then in that same space you're going to single crochet, double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch in that 3rd chain from the hook, then in your next stitch double crochet and single crochet, and in your next 2 stitches you're going to slip stitch. Okay, so again, in your next stitch there, single crochet, double crochet, chain 1, 2, 3, slip stitch in that 3rd chain from the hook, double crochet in your next stitch, and then single crochet, and then slip stitch in those next 2 stitches. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and repeat that for the remainder of the round. Just go around once for each sleeve, and then you're done with the dress. Alright, so you can see this pattern is really the same as the pattern for my witch dress, but these colors are too dark to see on camera. It would be really hard for you to see the stitches as I'm working, so I chose to make a rainbow fairy costume instead. So I hope you enjoyed this pattern. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed it. the thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I am trying to come out with one new tutorial every week while my kids are in school. All right, thank you.